Hi class, we are working on Math 8-9 today. Now that is skipping a whole bunch because the last one we did was 8-1. So don't freak out. We're skipping to 8-9 and you'll see why as soon as we do it, because it is exactly like 8-1, only this time instead of using meters, we're using liters. We're converting the measurements, okay? So I want you to grab your math workbooks and turn to page 337, 337, and we're gonna work on that. Sorry, there's a little something on my screen there. The other thing I'd like you to have handy dandy is that page in the back of your book that we talked about, that we were using, that we were using as well. It's page, oh boy, I don't have it written down anymore. Nope, I dog-eared it. I knew I did. Okay, this one. Okay, so last time we did meters, and this time we're talking about liters. And you can tell that our prefixes are the same. They're going to mean the same thing. So keep this page handy as well because we'll be using that. All right, but we are on page 337. Ooh, okay. So I mentioned that the prefixes indicate the same relationship as they did between the unit and the base unit. Now, let me define that and help you understand what that means. On our chart, this middle section right here is called the base unit, the 1 meter, okay? And then we can get bigger from there or we can get smaller from there. Today we're talking about 1 liter, okay? That's our base unit. We'll have other units like the milliliter or the kiloliter, but this is our base unit, and then these are other units that we're going to talk about. One thing that might help us out, whether you need to have help on 8-1 or today, but one thing that we can remember is that when we multiply, we multiply when we go from a larger unit to a smaller unit. We divide when we go from a smaller unit to a larger unit. I'm going to write that down so that we can remember, because we might need to use that. Well, I'm going to use my whiteboard to help us with our other problems. So we'll just have to, we multiply when we go larger to smaller. I'm just going to turn it because it'll be easier for me too. And then we divide when we go from smaller to larger. Dun, da, da, da. There we go. Okay, we multiply when we go from larger to smaller. We divide when we go from smaller to larger. Let's practice working on this. Like I said, it's just like the one that we did the other day, but instead of meters, we're using liters, but everything else that we do is going to be the same. Just the name of the unit is different. It is a different way to measure. Meters are like a length, and liters are measuring liquid volume. So that part is different, but all of the math and conversions are all the same. Okie dokie. So if we're on page 337 in our workbooks, again, it has that table that shows all of the conversions and how many liters are in a deciliter, how many, there's 100 liters in a hectoliter, there's 1,000 liters in a kiloliter, okay? Ooh, the sun just went behind a cloud, so it just got darker. My daughter's in here working on her homework too, so we're working together, and she's loving it. Okay. So we can convert to smaller units. Let's look in this box right here. In fact, I'm looking at my teacher's manual, but I'm going to go I'm going to go to this page so that I can show it to you. The part that we're talking about. So back to this page, and I want to talk about the conversions on this, so this part right here. Okay, so that's where we are. Example 1, convert to a smaller unit. We have 5 liters. How many milliliters is that? Okay, now milliliters are smaller than liters. So we are going from larger to smaller. This was the example that I showed you the other day. Remember, we have a 2-liter bottle. Okay, so a liter is about this much in a 2-liter bottle. And then milliliters were the tiny, you can go in your room if you need to. You have a question? Okay, give me just a little bit. Sorry, move on if you need to. And those milliliters are the tiny ones. So when we're going from a larger measurement, like a liter, to a milliliter, larger to smaller, we multiply. Okay, so we are going from liters to milliliters. There's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So let me show you another way that we can, I was thinking about this the other night in between videos, and so it had been a couple days since I had made the video, and I was thinking about another way to show it. Okay, so if I have, let's see, 49, okay, 1 liter is the same as 1,000 milliliters. Okay, so we're just like that, right? Okay. And we can see that in our chart too. But they've shown us that we have 49 liters in the problem, right? In the example, 49 liters, okay? To get from 1 to 1,000, I times by 1,000. So to get from 49 to however many milliliters we need, this was how I did it the other day. I'm not changing it. I need to times by 1,000, right? So 49 times 1,000 is 49,000. Okay? So if we set it up like that, we can kind of see how that'll make it a little bit easier for us to figure out our conversions. So, oh, wow, I skipped from the example to number 1. I just did number 1 with you, so that wasn't our example. That was number 1, and I apologize. But hey, we just used that as our example, so that works. Let's take a look at number 2 then. Where's my eraser? Do you see my eraser, Aves? Thank you, my darling. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. It says we've got 5 6/6800 kiloliters equals how many liters? Okay. 1,000 liters makes 1 kiloliter. So we are going from 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. Okay, and if I didn't know that, I can just look in my chart, and that's your chart on page 337. Now, it tells us that we have 5.68 or 5 6/6800 kiloliters, and what we don't know is how many liters. Okay, well, from here, 1 times 1,000 equals 1,000. So we're multiplying by 1,000, okay? And if I do that up on the top, my conversion chart, I have to do that to this problem right here. So I'm going to times by 1,000, okay? Now, last time I just knew that 49 times 1,000 was 49,000. In this case, yeah, I can do it. I can set it up as an equation and actually figure it out. Or we can just move the decimal point, right? If I'm timesing by 1,000, I've got 3 zeros, so I'm going to move that decimal point 3 times, right? So here it is right here. Now we're getting larger because I'm timesing 5 times 5 and a small amount times 1,000. So I really should end up with 5,000 and an amount, right? That makes sense. So we're going to move this 3 times. 1. Oops, my marker's running out. 1, 2, 3. So my decimal point would go right there. And what do I put when I have a blank? A 0. So this is my new conversion, should be 5,680. That's an 8, I promise. 5,680. Okay. Let's try we're going to skip and we're going to do number 6 together. So we're looking at 227 milliliters that we're going to transfer to liters. To how many liters? Okay. Well, how many milliliters are in a liter? Let's look back at our chart. Okay, and it's up on the right hand side. Well, up there, no, actually, there's 1 liter for 1,000 milliliters. We'll just look at that part, okay? That's in my chart right here. Right here. There's 1 liter for every 1,000 milliliters. It takes 1,000 milliliters to fill up that 1 liter bottle, right? Okay, so there's 1,000 milliliters for every 1 liter. Okay, so here's my conversion. That's what I've got to take a look at. So I am going from a smaller measurement, which is a milliliter, to a larger measurement, which is a liter. And remember, we said we are going to divide when we go from smaller to larger. So we are going to divide by 1,000, which means that we're going to, I can do the equation out here, but I can also just move my decimal point, and that can change my answer too. And I know that I'm going to move it 3 times because boom, 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 I've got 3 zeros. Okay. Now, my invisible decimal point is right here. There's always a decimal point in a number. If we don't see it, it's invisible, but it's always there. And right here, it's at the end of my number right here. We're going to move it to the left because we're making our number smaller. We're moving it to the left 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Right there. So that's my new number. So using good math manners, I'm going to start with a 0. 0.227 liters. Okay. So in 227 milliliters, there's 227 thousandths of a liter. Got it? Oh. Let's do one more together, and then I think that you're going to be just fine. Let's do number 12. So take a look at number 12 on your page 337. Oh, Avery's leaving. I've driven her crazy. Oh, she's got to watch a video, so she doesn't want me in the background being loud. I love you. Oh, she doesn't want to make noise for your video. You are so thoughtful. I really do love you. Okay, number 12. We're going to go from 58 centiliters. Ooh, that one took me a minute. I had to look back at the at the chart. We're going to go from 58 centiliters to how many liters? Okay, if you look back in your chart, 58 centiliters to how many liters? There we go. If we look back in our chart, up at the top, for every 1 liter, So I'm going to fill in my gaps right here in my chart. For every 1 liter, there's 100 centiliters. Okay, so from here, I'm going from 100 to 1. That's another way for me to know that I'm dividing, but I also know that I'm going from smaller to larger. Okay, if there's 100 centiliters in 1 liter, then they're pretty small, right? Okay, so we divide when we go from smaller to larger, and I can tell that right here because I'm going from 100 centiliters to 1 liter. So it looks like I'm dividing by 100. I'm going from 100 to 1. 100 divided by 100 is 1. So if I divide by 100 up here, I've got to divide by 100 right here. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places, but I'm going to move it to the left because my number is getting smaller. Okay, so I'm going to start right here with my invisible decimal. I move it to the left 2 spots. How come 2? Because there's 2 zeros. I'm dividing by 0. I'm going to go 1, 2. And that only works when I'm working with whole numbers or these really awesome numbers like 100 or 10 or 1,000. It doesn't work every other time. It's just when I'm ending with zeros, right? Okay. So I move that over 2 spots. I use my good math manners and start with a 0, and I've got 0 and 58 hundredths of a liter. Okay. All right, I would like you to practice and just finish up some of these ones on this page. If you have questions, you can always talk to an older sibling, a mom or dad. You can put comments on the assignment, and I can answer from there. The next page is page 338 in our workbook, and it's word problems. So it's talking about problem solving, like real world problems. When will I use this in the real world? Well, here's some examples, okay? Let's see, Morgan's juice glass. This is number 13 on page 338, so make sure you're with me. Morgan's juice glass holds 225 milliliters. If she uses the glass to drink 8 glasses of water every day, how many liters of water does Morgan drink during a week? The first thing that I notice on this one is that I am converting from milliliters to liters. The other part of the problem is that we're taking that total number that she drinks and we're dividing it by 8 glasses. Let's see. Well, she uses the glass to drink 8 glasses of water every day. Okay, so that's 8 per day. But then, so I might have said divide before and I might have been wrong. So I'm restating this. So she drinks 8 glasses of water every day. How many does she drink during a week? We've got 2 conversions here. We're doing the milliliters to liters, but we're also converting from days to a week. How many days are in a week, folks? 7. Okay, so we've got a couple different things that we need to do. I'm going to check in here. Okay. First, let's convert our milliliters to liters because the question at the end says how many liters of water. So we need to go from milliliters to liters. Okay, we're going from milliliters to liters. Okay, there are 1,000 Nope. Yep, sorry. 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. Okay, those 2 are equal. But it tells us at the beginning that she has 225 milliliters. Okay, and we want to convert it to liters. So here we go. This is where we fill it in. I'm going from 1,000, I'm going smaller to larger, milliliters to liters, and 1,000 to 1. So we've got to divide. We're dividing by 1,000. To get from 1,000 to 1, we divide by 1,000. So I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to divide by 1,000. And in order to do that, I'm going to move my decimal 3 spots because I've got 3 zeros. We're going to start over here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's our new number, 0.225. So that's how many liters we have. Okay. Remember this number. This is what we're going to use to help us with the rest of our equation. Okay, so let's check our problem again. Morgan's juice glass, I'm going to read it a little bit differently this time. Morgan's juice glass holds 225 thousandths of a liter. If she uses the glass to drink 8 glasses of water every day, okay, so 8 glasses in a day. 8 times this number will tell us how much she drinks in a day. So let's pause right there and figure that out. So we're going to do 2, I'm going to erase and use that same number. Okay, remember this is how many liters are in a glass. She drinks 8 glasses a day. So you write this problem down. I want you to figure out the answer. Let's see who can do it the fastest. Go. I'm giving you a tiny head start. You better hurry. Do it. Write it down. Go. Okay. I'm done. Are you done? Did you get 1 8/10? That's what I got. Oh, I lied. Wow, Mrs. Norman, I just made a very 5th grade mistake, which is good, right? I pulled my decimal down. I'm not supposed to pull my decimal down, am I? No. Nope. In fact, when we multiply with decimals, we multiply same as usual, and then we count up what's behind the decimal at the end. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's 3 numbers behind a decimal, and I've got 3 numbers behind a decimal. Okay? So there we go. See, I've got 3 numbers behind a decimal, so that's where I move my decimal from here. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Glad I caught that mistake. That would have changed my answer. Okay, so now we're to this much. She drinks 1 8/1000 or 1 8/10 liters every day. That's good. But now the rest of the question says, how much water does Morgan drink during a week? And we already said there's 7 days in a week, right? Okay, so we need to take this much that she drinks in a day, times it by a week. So times 7, right? Okay, so 1 8/10 times 7. Did you get it? I'm just waiting. I'm giving you a solution dance. Did you get it? We're good? We there? Okay. If you got 12 6/10 of a liter, bump, bump, then you got the answer correct. Remember, we multiply as usual, and then we count how many numbers are behind a decimal, and that's where we move our decimal over down here. Right there. 12.6, 12 6/10 of a liter, because remember we converted it to liters. So that's how much she drinks every week. That was a little bit more difficult. It was definitely more steps, right? But we did it, and we did just fine, and you'll do just fine. So that brings me to our homework assignment. We're doing 8, 9 today. Make sure that you double check and that you do 8, 9. All right. So I want you to do the conversions at the top and then do 11, 12, 13, 14. Actually, I'll tell you what. If you watched the rest of this video to this point, then I'm going to tell you that you can cross off 12 and 14. You only have to do 11 and 13. I do want you to do the conversions at the top. They're not hard. I think you can do it. But at the bottom, you only need to do 11 and 13. So if you made it all the way through my teaching video, that is your prize. Love ya. You're amazing, and this is your reward for sticking with me and my craziness. Okay? If you have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments. Of course, you can always talk. If you've got an older sibling or a parent at home, you can ask them as well. I am happy to help you, though. So please let me know. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you later.